Okay, all right. Well, then let me call this meeting to order. Today is December 6, 2023, and it is now 10:20 in the morning. And this is a duly scheduled, advertised, called meeting of the Board of Adjustment of the Municipality of Anchorage. And the purpose of this meeting is basically to schedule things. But let us first follow the agenda that we have in front of us. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Chair Guchow,
Here.
Member Probst,
Here.
Member Rose,
Here.
and it's my understanding that members Laffey and Pease are recused.
That is my understanding as well.
Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. In addition to that, we have Courtney Kitchen here, who is the attorney for the board in this particular case. And we may have Dean Gates join us. And we have the two clerks. We have Jasmine Akers and we have Brandy Heasley as well. So having called the roll, the first thing I would like you to do is that as board members, would you please look at the agenda that was sent to you yesterday for today's meeting? Carl, have you had a chance to look at it?
Move to approve.
Okay, move to approve. Mike, have you had a chance to look at the agenda?
I have, and I'll second the motion.
I don't
Chair.
think you can do that yet because you have not been sworn in. So we need to disregard that kind offer, and I will second that motion. Okay, any discussion regarding the agenda? Any discussion at all? Seeing none, the agenda is approved. So let us jump right in. Our newest member is Mike Rose, and it is my understanding that his appointment by the administration was confirmed by the assembly last night. So he is a proper member of the board. But the first thing we need to do now that he is joining the board is we need to have him sworn in. And Madam Clerk, would you please do that?
Yes. Mr. Rose, if you can raise your right hand, and then I'll just have you repeat after me. I solemnly swear
I solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Alaska,
the Constitution of the State of Alaska,
and the Charter of the Municipality of Anchorage,
the Charter of the Municipality of Anchorage,
and that I will faithfully perform
and I will faithfully perform
the duties of the Board of Adjustment
the duties of the Board of Adjustment
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
You are sworn in.
Thank you very much, and congratulations, Mr. Rose, for being the latest member on the Board of Adjustment.
Thank you.
All right, let us, before we get to the real issue here, I want to just very briefly discuss the issue of a conflict of interest. You know that this board has had difficulties in the past, and I want to be sure that if there is a conflict of interest that you feel or anybody else perceives that a member of the board has, that be brought to our attention right away so that that issue can be dealt with. Nothing is more annoying than suddenly finding after the fact or during a hearing that somebody needs to excuse himself or herself. So would you please be alert to issues of conflict of interest? Now, it is my understanding that regarding the case that we are about to discuss briefly, that is BOA appeal number 2023-01, that neither Mike Rose nor Carl Probst have conflicts. Is that correct, Carl?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and Mike, is that correct?
That is correct. I very briefly skimmed through the file just to check names, and I have no conflict.
Thank you very much. I have no conflict either in this case. So the three of us, there are two other members on the board, I should say, who have conflicts in this particular case. So the three of us are the last Mohicans, so to speak, and we will consider this case, the substance of this case later on at another meeting. So, but if it should suddenly happen that either one of you, and that also includes myself, of course, discover that we do have a conflict of interest, either because we know the parties or we have a close relationship with the attorneys or whatever it may be, would you please bring that to my attention right away so that the matter can be dealt with? All right, so now let's go to item number 6 on the agenda, and that is considering the scheduling of the case that is called BOA Appeal number 2023-01, and that's an appeal from a planning board decision. And today is December the 6th. We need to set a hearing date, or I should say a date when the three of us can consider the substance of that appeal. You will recall that the procedure is that we will discuss and decide the appeal at a hearing. And I would suspect, judging by past history, that that will take approximately 3 hours of time. So we need to come up with timing to consider that case. And not only does that depend on your and my schedules, but it also depends on Courtney Kitchen's schedule, because Courtney is our attorney who will assist us in fleshing out the substance of the arguments that are made and assist us in making decisions regarding those arguments. I should tell you that I briefly had a discussion with Courtney about her schedules and what I thought our schedules would be. The very first thing she has to do is she has to prepare what's called a bench memo. And the bench memo will pick apart the arguments and make certain recommendations. She will not decide for us. That is not her job. She will merely flesh out the issues for our consideration. And considering that today is December the 6th, and that the holidays are rapidly approaching, quite frankly, I don't see how we can proceed to a consideration of the case before the holidays. It just is not feasible. In discussing this, I'm looking at her finalization of the bench memo by January 19. Now, that may seem very far in advance, but remember that there are holidays coming up, several holidays, and she has a busy schedule as well as we all do. So I would like to discuss that with you, that is Carl and Mike, and see what your situation is, how you feel about that date. And I'm talking about the date of January 19, when Courtney is to distribute to all of us the final version of the bench memo. Mike? Do you have any problem with that date?
I don't have any problem with that date. No.
Carl?
I'm going to be out of the country at that time. But is that a date where we would have our 3-hour meeting, or is that
No.
the date when we would receive the bench memo and then schedule the hearing after that?
No, we will schedule a hearing now coming, but this is the date. 119 is the date when she will distribute to us the final version of the bench memo. And generally speaking, our meeting would occur the following week. So the question is, when are you out of the country, Carl?
I'm looking at my calendar now.
I hope you go someplace warm.
You can count on that. I will be out of the country from January 14th through January 24th.
Oh dear. Okay. January 24, I'm looking at the calendar, is a Wednesday. It will take you a few days to get back into it, and I'm assuming that you're not inclined to look at things while you're cavorting somewhere in the world. So that really, though the 19th is the date of distribution, really you are not available until the 25th.
I would be available to look at the memo while I'm out of the country, and then I would be available to meet starting the 25th.
Oh, well, that is good. So you're taking your computer with you. So you could
Yes.
look at it between January 19 and the date whenever we will have the consideration of the case.
Yep, that's correct.
Great. And Mike, is the same thing true for you?
Yes, I'll have it looked at. I think that either January the 25th or January the 26th works well for me. I have a trial the week of February 5 and pretty heavy trial prep that week preceding. So if it works for your schedule, Mr. Chair, I think the 25th or the 26th of January might be good prospective dates to look at for meeting.
Well, we hold your horse on that, because once she distributes the memo, we will need a few days to consider it. And so the question is whether that's enough time so that we could, for example, schedule a hearing for the 26th. Does that give you enough time to consider the bench memo and to consider the various issues that may be involved in this case so that we can have an intelligent discussion at the meeting? Is that enough time? Carl, what's your thought
Yes,
on this?
that would be fine for me.
Okay. Mike, how are you with that date?
January 26th.
Yes, I'm looking at January 26th.
Yes, that works.
Okay. Courtney, how is that date for you?
I'm available. It
Okay.
works for me.
And the two clerks, I don't know which one of you would be attending to this, Jasmine and Brandy. How would that date work for you?
It's available.
Okay, so we are looking at January 26th to have consideration of this case. In terms of time of the date, what's your druthers? Carl, what's your thought? Morning or afternoon or evening, or what's your druthers?
Around this time normally works well for me.
Okay, Michael.
I'm available all day, so I'll defer.
Okay, Courtney.
Anytime between 9:30 and I have to be done at 3:30 for kid pickup.
Oh, I understand how these things go. Okay, so if we said 10 o'clock, that would work for you.
It certainly would. Yep.
Okay, and clerks, would that work for you as well if we say 10 o'clock on the 26th?
That would
Would
work for me.
Okay. Brandy, would that work for you as well?
Yes.
Okay, and it will work for me. So we are looking at, and we can decide that the hearing of case 2021-01 will be at 10 o'clock on January 26. And now I would like that to be in person and not via team. And so one of you clerks needs to be sure that the room that we usually use, that's on the first floor of City Hall in the back there, I can't remember what that room is called. You know what I'm talking about, that we reserved that room for 3 hours at that time. Would that work?
We might have to use, I can double check, but we might have to use the clerk's conference room in 240, which is upstairs. But we will have a room available regardless.
Okay, all right. If you would make sure that a room is made available.
Yes.
Courtney,
yes.
do you have a question?
Yeah, I just want to confirm, I think that there was a, it's case 2023-01. You had said 2021. I just want to make sure we have the right case number.
I apologize if I misspoke. Yes, it's the currently pending case, 2023-01.
Great.
Okay, all right. So we are scheduled for 10 a.m. at City Hall in a room to be determined for consideration of the case. Now, having said that, we then need to, and for the 2 new board members, I just need to tell you what the order of business is afterwards. Once we have made the primary decision on the appeal, Courtney needs to put that in final form, and then the board needs to meet to approve the final decision. And the reason that is important is because once the final decision is entered on the record, and I have signed the final decision, any party aggrieved by the decision has 30 days to appeal to Superior Court. And that needs to be stated both on the record and in writing. So that is important for us to establish a date. And so assuming arguendo that we can reach a decision initially on January 26th, the question is, when should we have the final hearing? It will take Courtney a few days, and she told me beforehand that she would be ready by February the 1st. So February the 1st is a Thursday, so conceivably we could meet that Thursday or Friday the 2nd. I hear Mike say that he has a trial coming up the next week. And so the question is whether he would be available on the 1st or the 2nd to meet for, I would suggest, no more than 1 hour. Michael?
Unfortunately, probably not.
Okay.
But just because of trial preparation.
Okay. All right. So your trial is when?
It starts Monday the 5th and goes that full week.
2/5, and I'm looking at the calendar. So you would not be available until the week of February the 11th.
Correct.
Okay. Carl, are you available the week of February 11th?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And Courtney, are you available then as well?
I am, yes.
And the clerks, can you make one of you available during that week?
Yes.
Okay. So why don't we say Monday is not a good time, but why don't we say to meet on the 13th of February? 2/13, again at 10 o'clock in City Hall somewhere. Would that work for all of you? Michael, would that work for you?
Yes.
And Carl, would that work for you?
Yes.
Okay. And Courtney, would that work for you?
Yes.
All right. And the clerks, would it work for you as well?
We have an assembly meeting and a chair meeting at that time.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's not good, is
Yeah,
it?
we have preparation for the assembly meeting at that time. Yes. From 10:30 to noon on
From
that day.
10:30 to noon. If we were to meet at 9 o'clock, would that work for you? I'm not trying to be,
Yes.
I'm trying to be
Mhm.
pushy because the parties have a right to,
Absolutely. Yes.
we need to finish this.
Yes.
So if we were to meet at 9 o'clock instead of 10 o'clock, so that would work for you,
Yes.
Jasmine. Okay. And Brandy, would that work for you as well if you need to participate?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So let's consider 9 o'clock for the final hearing. Mike, is that feasible for you?
Yes.
Okay, and Carl
Yes.
and Courtney.
I'm going to throw a wrench in it and say, no, I can't do 9 a.m. But I can do any time that afternoon if that works for the clerks and everybody else.
Well, I
One
think that
o'clock.
I think the clerk is going to have difficulty with that, aren't you,
I
Jasmine?
can do 1 o'clock. Yeah,
You could do 1 o'clock?
Mhm.
Oh,
I can make
terrific.
that work. Yeah.
All right. And Michael, would 1 o'clock work?
Yes.
And Carl?
That's actually better. Yes.
Oh, great. And Brandy and Jasmine, 1 o'clock? Okay.
Yes.
And 1 o'clock will have to work for me as well. So I think we have reached a point where we can say that we are in agreement on the following dates. Number one, Courtney will distribute a bench memo by January 19, although she will have a draft finished by a week earlier, and she and I will finalize the bench memo to be distributed. Then we will have a meeting to consider the appeal on January 26 at 10 a.m. somewhere in City Hall, and the clerks will attend to it. You know, I have lost you here. I don't know what is going on. I hope you can still hear me.
We can. Yes.
Oh, good, good, good. All right. So we have scheduled that for January the 20th, January 26th at City Hall. We will consider this case. And on February the 13th at 1 p.m., we will consider the final version of the decision, of the written decision in this case. Does that make sense to all of you?
Yes.
Carl, yes?
Yes.
Michael?
One
Okay.
question, the meeting on February 13, how long is that estimated to be?
No more than 1 hour.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
Okay. Clerks, are you okay with this as well? I have lost your picture. The only one I can see is Mike Rose. Why would that be? Oh, this is so frustrating. Are we
can
still?
see and hear you still. Yes.
Okay, all right. So, oh, there you are, Jasmine.
Okay.
Okay, so we are set with that. And do we have, I will simply make a motion right now. I will move that case number 23-01, that the bench memo be distributed to us. And remember, that's a confidential bench memo that is not to be shared with anyone else, that will be distributed on January 19. The hearing will occur on January 26 at 10 a.m. and the final decision, the written decision, will be considered on February 13 at 1 p.m. also in City Hall. May I quickly have a second for that motion, please?
That one I will second.
Thank you. Any discussion regarding the motion? Carl?
No discussion.
All right. Mike, any further discussions regarding that scheduling?
Oh, no, sir.
All right, and I have no further discussion. Madam Clerk, would you simply register the vote on this, please?
Chair Guchow,
Yes.
Member Probst,
Yes.
Member Rose,
Yes.
That passes 3-0.
Thank you very much. And so that will be the schedule for the consideration of case number 2023-01. All right, moving then on to the next item on the agenda. Are there any member comments? Carl, anything you wish to bring to our attention?
I was just curious in terms of the reappointment or appointments of other members that we touched on last time a little bit. Has there been any action on that?
Well, I can answer that, not to my knowledge. I must tell you, I have not checked back with Nancy Pease to see if she applied for reappointment. So I don't know what the status is regarding her. You know that I will be off, and I have a couple comments regarding that in a minute, but you know that I'm not seeking reappointment. So the only one of the current members or members whose term has just recently expired is Nancy Pease, and I don't know what her status is. Regardless, it is necessary to get other members appointed so that we have a full complement of 5 members if that is achievable. And the reason why that is important is because remember that the quorum requirement is 3 members, and there are always, we need to have some extra, so to speak, in case there is a conflict of interest. So if both of you, that is Mike and Carl, and that also pertains to the clerks and to Courtney, if you have suggestions regarding appointments to this board, would you please talk to him or her, the persons who are interested or who you think would make good members, and make sure that they apply for appointment. Anything else, Carl, that you wish to bring up?
Well, along the same lines, is there some way to find out from Nancy what her status is?
Well, yes. And what that means is that I will put in a call to Nancy and urge her to reapply or find out what the status is. And I will send a note around to all of you, okay? Once I have spoken to her and have discovered what her intentions are, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Mike, do you have anything you wish to bring to our attention?
No, I just I am grateful for the opportunity to serve on this board and look forward to the work that we will be doing.
Well, thank you. I can tell you that I have just one matter to bring to everybody's attention, and that is that there is another case in the pipeline. And Dean sent me a note either yesterday or the day before, I can't remember which, saying it is about ready to be presented to us for consideration. So you can be sure that you will be called to another scheduling meeting at which we then have to discuss who has a conflict, who is still available, et cetera, so that we go through the same thing once more. I know nothing about the case. I don't know anything about the appeal, from which board it is, whether it is from P&Z or from the planning board or from the Urban Design Commission. I have no idea. So we will just have to see what the situation is. Regarding myself, I have not applied for reappointment, and I will not do so. I feel that my time is up and somebody else needs to take over for me. I have served on this board for a long time, and it is time to bow out. So, anything else? Any other comments from board members? Hearing none. Courtney, any comments? Any thoughts?
None from me, thank you, but it looks like Dean has something.
Oh, Dean is on the line. Dean? Well, what do you have to?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Great.
Yes, I just wanted to.
Now I can see you,
Well, I
Dean.
actually joined the meeting
All right. Did
Oh,
did
great. I'm glad I
did-
fixed that problem.
have you,
I just wanted to mention I joined the meeting right when you finished the role at the beginning. And when you spoke about the recent case that we have coming in the pipeline, I wanted to add that we just received the appeal record, and so now the briefing can begin. And as you know, the parties have some period to do so, 15 days, I think, for each side and the reply. So we maybe see that ready right before the board in about a month and a half, approximately. However, we have the appeal record now, and so, Mr. Chair, I wanted to ask, what is the best way, do you think, to send, I guess, what the case is about to the boards? You can determine conflicts early, as you had mentioned, and we have the whole appeal record. I don't know it's necessary to send that, perhaps just the lower board's decision document, so that the board members can determine if they have any conflict with it. And that was my thought. It was a planning zoning commission decision, and I guess they decide by resolution. And would just the resolution be sufficient to send to the Board of Adjustment members for that conflict determination? Or you can instruct me offline, but I wanted to bring that up.
in order to determine whether there is a conflict or not, we need to see the P&Z decision that is being appealed. And so what I would ask you to do, Dean, is that your office distribute a copy of the P&Z decision and the notice of appeal and the points on appeal, because that will then enable the board members, all of us, to determine whether we have a conflict or not.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll do that.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so Carl and Mike, just so that you understand what is happening here, there is a case in the pipeline that Dean just told us about. Apparently, the record has been prepared, and his office will send around the decision that's being appealed from and the points on appeal, so that we know and can make a determination whether we have a conflict of interest. Dean, can you do that within the next 10 days or so?
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Is the record voluminous? Dean?
Sorry, did you ask if it's voluminous?
Is-
I guess it's maybe about twice as thick as the one for this case.
Well, the reason I'm asking, Dean, is because in looking at the package for this case, and I have it right here, I'm holding it up, it's exceedingly thin. It is unusually thin. And, that's good for us because it won't take us forever to review the record. But usually the record is fairly thick and it will take quite a while to digest. That's why I was asking. I'm sorry. Maybe I shouldn't. And we just wait and see how it turns out.
Okay. Mhm.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else? The next item is audience participation. Is there any person in the audience who wishes to address us? And clerks, I don't think there's anybody else on the line, is there? Can't hear you.
It looks like there's one telephone number.
Okay. And
That might be the interpreter, though.
Okay. Okay.
So, if I may, Mr. Chair,
Dean?
I think that
Yes?
number's the 312 and 793. That's my sign language interpreter who's called in.
Gotcha.
All right. So there is no member of the public on the line here that we need to encourage or discourage or whatever to speak up at this meeting. Is there, Madam Clerk?
No, there's no one on the line.
Okay, all right. So then we are ready to adjourn this meeting, and I'm glad to see that we managed to do this under an hour. That is delightful. So I want to thank you all for participating today, and we will simply stay adjourned until next time.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
All right.